Hello everyone and welcome to this week's ICE commentary on the Russell 2000 and the US equity markets. My name's Travis McKenzie and I'll be filling in for Nick McDonald this week. Leading on from Nick's video of last week where he spoke about that technically the Russell was looking very strong, very bullish, and the reason he was saying that was, if I just blow up this chart a little bit more for you and show you, as of last week we had a low and then we had a higher low, and that higher low had found support of this key level at 715. We then had this high here. The high there is at 755. Nick was saying, based on these higher lows off this support region, this level here, he was looking for a break above this level here, above this 755. If it could break through there, it looked like we would test this next level at 765 and potentially run higher. Unfortunately, it didn't occur. Now, as Nick also said, was depending on what news was to come out during last week in relation to the European sovereign debt crisis, well, that would have a big effect on what was going to be happening to the charts. And unfortunately, the news wasn't good last week. Despite the fact that Italy and Greece installed new leadership into their parliament, and Spain potentially is this weekend with the Spanish at the polls as of this weekend, unfortunately that wasn't enough. The news flow that was coming out of Europe was still negative in the eyes of the market, and the market rolled over. But one interesting thing that we're seeing right now, looking forward for next week and where I think the Russell is going to be going, is what happened last week was that we put in, rather than breaking this old high, that 755, we actually put in a lower high. And then as of the close on Friday, we have put in a low, but this low is higher than this low here. So what we have is a series, I'm just marking this high, we have a series of lower highs and a series of higher lows, but we're also sitting at this key level at 715. So the fact that we have lower highs and lower lows, and higher lows, it means we have no trend. So there's no clear direction going forward into the next week. The only really thing that we can see here is that we're sitting at this key level at 715. So what I do in a situation like this is I'll look to the other markets to see if they can give me some sort of a heads up or a guidance or an indication on which way the Russell could go, if it's going to be dragged down or up with those other markets. So let's just have a quick look. Firstly at the Dow. Now with the Dow, what we had last week, we put in a fairly much an equal high to the week before. However, we put in a slightly lower low. So you could argue this was slightly lower, so you could say we had a lower high or an equal high, but we had lower lows. So technically now we are ever so slightly into a downtrend on this on the Dow. It is, however, holding fairly well at this key level around 11,720. So even the Dow is not giving us a great indication, but if anything, it's probably looking a little bit bearish. If we have a look at the S&P 500, with the S&P 500, I can just get rid of this. S&P 500, that's how we're sort of looking last week. We had this higher low compared to this low here, and we're looking to break up through this old high. So the old high up there was at 1275. Unfortunately, similar to what we've seen on the other markets, we weren't able to make a higher high, but quite convincingly we've put in a lower low. So now we have a very clear lower high and a very clear lower low. So we're clearly in a downtrend now on the daily on the S&P. Looking to see how much further this could go. The next key level is down at 1,200 on this level. Once it breaks down through there, there's a fairly clear run down to the next level is probably down around these regions around 1,118. So we're looking very bearish on that S&P 500. Now, looking at the NASDAQ was actually the strongest from last week. You remember Nick was talking about on that weekly chart that we're looking for a break. If I just open up the weekly chart, he was saying, if we could break up above this key level of 2,400, it looked like it could go, very strong, lead on and bring the other markets with us. Unfortunately, it rolled over and was a very, very bearish candle as of last week. So if we come and have a look at how that looks on the daily chart, similar to the S&P 500, has put in a lower high and also a lower low. It is and also has broken through this key level at 2,261. Found support of it on Thursday, but on Friday I was able to break through it. So looking at those remaining three markets, what is that really saying for the Russell? Well, if anything, it's looking that those three markets are bearish and potentially may pull the Russell down with it. But I think there's a couple of key things I'm going to be looking for on Monday. If the Russell can hold this key level at 715, I will be looking for a push back up towards these old highs. Okay, so these old highs around this level here, which is about 748. So if it can hold, and it looks like it's going to hold and rally up in the lower time frames, I'll be looking for moves up to that 748. However, if it cannot hold and it's dragged down along with the rest of those markets and breaks down through this key level of 715 and breaks through these old lows, that's the most important thing. Once it breaks these old lows, we are then technically in a downtrend. If that's the situation, then I think we've got a very clear run heading down. And as Nick was saying last week, we should all be able to, as traders, trade equally as well on the upside to the downside. So just bear that in mind. So that's what I'll be looking for going into next week. One thing to bear in mind though is that it's obviously Thanksgiving in America on Thursday. So that means that there's going to be reduced trading hours. So for the Russell, you can see here on Thursday, the Russell will be closing at 11:30 Eastern Time, so New York time. And on Friday we'll be closing at 1:15 p.m. New York or Eastern Time. So bear in mind, on Thursday and Friday the volume could be reasonably low, therefore volatility may increase, so just bear that in the back of your mind. But as of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday should be trading as per normal, and they are the key levels and what I'm seeing for the Russell leading into next week. So I hope that all helps. Have a great Thanksgiving, those in America, and have a great week trading, and I look forward to speaking to you all sometime soon.